When you devote even a few seconds at a time to deliberately experiencing more happy thoughts, you can reconfigure your brain's habitual thought patterns. It's no longer up to everyone else whether you have a good day or feel like a worthwhile person. By consciously focusing on what you like and value about yourself, you can intentionally change your mood.
I'm Eric Orton.
I'm Emily Orton.
And in 2014, we bootstrapped a year on a fixer-upper sailboat with our 5 kids. We wrote a book about it called 7 at Sea, and that book became a New York Times top 10 travel book.
On this podcast, we explore adventure, connection, and stepping into a more intentional life. And we don't just talk about it, we practice it. We invite you to join us on playful, guided sailing trips around the world.
And if you stick around to the end of this episode, you'll hear our sailing update where we share where we're going, when, and which trips still have space. And you can hear our sailing takeaway where you'll hear from somebody who's actually come on a sailing trip with us already.
Let's dive in. I love this idea that savoring what is good is not a denial or even escapism. It's really important for how our brain works. And I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I've been reading this book by Lindsay Gibson. She's like a therapist, counselor, brain person, and she uses the metaphor for the brain as a box. Like it can hold so many thoughts at once, and that when we are focusing on negative thoughts, then our brain is wired in one direction. And when we're focusing on positive thoughts, that actually, that we can change the ratio between the positive and toxic thoughts in our minds, that we actually have control to rewire our brains. And I'll read this quote. This will be more articulate from Rick Hansen of Hardwiring Happiness. He said, the brain benefits of increasing pleasurable thoughts are this. When you devote even a few seconds at a time to deliberately experiencing more happy thoughts, you can reconfigure your brain's habitual thought patterns. And the more time you spend savoring your pleasurable experiences, the more you train your brain toward feel-good mental habits. It's no longer up to everyone else whether you have a good day or feel like a worthwhile person. By consciously focusing on what you like and value about yourself, you can intentionally change your mood.
I love that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that. It's kind of where I'm coming from, overpowering the negative with focusing on the positive.
Well, I think we all see this literally on our phones. We can change how we see things based on our lens. On our phones, Instagram, we all have filters, and we can change whether something is black and white or sepia or like really punchy colors or cool, this or that. And I see this on our, like our DSLR camera. I can literally remove the lens and change it to do like a narrow depth of field or a zoom lens. On our drone, I can literally take a little square thing and pop it off and put one on, and it'll make the pictures look better when there's a lot of bright sun. And so, or low light, but basically in the camera world, it's a very physical, literal thing. And I think what you're talking about is that in our minds, we don't actually just pop something off and pop on a new one, but we can gradually adjust it, or maybe not so gradually. We can adjust it based on the thoughts that we entertain, the kinds of thoughts, how long we entertain them, and how frequently we can actually change how we perceive the world.
Yeah, I really like that. Obviously, the camera metaphor is a really clean one. And I also really like talking about the phone and not just the filters, but if like your algorithm, right? If I look at my daughter's phone, her Explore page has very different stuff than my phone or your phone. It's very different. And it's like, it's going to show you what you're looking for. And I think our brains work a lot that same way as well. And not to say to just ignore anything negative that is happening. We want to acknowledge that hard things, painful things, damaging things even can happen in our lives or in our experience. But there are a few things we can do to adjust that, right? One, we can face it directly, acknowledge it and process it. Another thing we can do is like put it in a new context and a different perspective. And another thing we can do is spend less time thinking about it. Be like, yes, that's true. And I'm going to focus on something else, right? Not in an escapist, ignoring way, but just like, that's not going to make my life better right now. I'm going to work on something that is going to make my life better. So maybe this is a good time to share an additional quote. This is by the author of The Transforming Power of Affect, Diana Fosha. She said, she has shown that healing and emotional transformations are most likely to occur when we are in an uplifted, positive state rather than when we focus on negative, self critical experiences. The quest for self knowledge and positive, self affirming experiences is not escapism. It is what we need to change for the better. By expanding and deepening your moments of happiness, you also strengthen and deepen your individual autonomy. I'm curious your thoughts on that idea that the more we focus on positive experiences of ourselves and our lives, like the more power we have to heal and transform.
I've been watching the Olympics.
Hey.
The Olympics are all about kind of like, the stories that really pull on our heartstrings are the ones where we overcome adversity.
Mhm.
And, we're really we're overcoming a lot of challenges. And I think all of us are Olympic athletes in some form or another. And I had some buddies over and we were watching the Olympics one night. Emily was out with the girls
The girls.
and we were just sort of like going through all the little streaming clips that were available. And one of them was sort of the psychological prep that athletes put in. And each athlete comes to their event with their own sort of ritual, their way of getting psyched or calm or whatever it is. In some cases, they would have multiple rituals like, hey, I really need to I feel low energy. I need to get hyped a little bit. So I'm going to listen to this song in my earbuds while I do my run. Or I'm feeling a little amped and antsy. I need to calm myself down. So I'm going to listen to this song. And one that I've long been a fan of is this idea of visualization
Mm,
of they would show clips of the skiers or, the ice skaters just sort of mentally going through their routine or their run in their minds. And they literally just have their eyes closed and their bodies are moving and they're trying to experience the whole thing for an optimal outcome. And I think that that's a way of sort of future casting of
mm,
what you want to create, but I've also heard this about pro athletes is that the best ones will only revisit the ones where when they got the hole in one or they kicked the field goal or they shot perfect free throws or they threw hit baseball game, whatever it is, they'll just revisit those positive wins over and over. And that's what they want to reinforce. And I'll say this as a musician, a lot is said, especially when you're younger, about practice time. Did you practice half an hour? Did you practice an hour, 45 minutes, or 3 hours, whatever it is? And that's such a ridiculous, arbitrary metric.
mm.
Did you put in the hours? Yes, we need to put in the hours, but you can spend half an hour, you can spend 3 hours practicing and reinforcing really bad technique, really bad, intonation or whatever it is, depending on the instrument. You can really reinforce a lot of negative things if you're just focusing on, I need to put in 3 hours. Or you could say, I'm going to put in 3 minutes or 30 minutes, and it's going to just be, I'm going to go slow. I'm going to play all the notes perfectly. I'm going to play everything in tune, whatever it is. And you can really just let it be a positive experience where you're reinforcing the optimal outcome.
I
I'm
like it.
jumping across a
No,
lot
I
of,
like it because it's showing like you're doing your life, but it's how you're thinking about it that is affecting like what is getting reinforced. And that speaks directly to like what are the messages, the signals that you're sending in your brain about yourself, about your life, about what's possible. And I mean, I remember that. I remember being excited about music at first, but as a 6 year old or whatever, I didn't know I was like locking into like an 11-year commitment, and I kind of got tired of it after a while. And it was like then it just became like a relationship battle. Every single practice was like someone else is forcing me to do this because they're paying money for something I don't want to participate in. It wasn't about like helping me enjoy it more. Or, like it was so fun and playful. It just was about control, and that was not a cool experience for me. Actually, we're talking about being able to heal. And I think with transformation, we're talking about growth and progress. I think you had another really great story that was showing an effect like this wasn't helpful. This
mm,
approach, like you were on some super team, but you didn't have
yes.
a super coach.
I was 10 years old and I was playing American football for the first time. My dad was in the military and we'd been stationed in Germany and I was only really allowed to play soccer, which was great. I liked soccer, but I also really wanted to play American football. And when we moved back to the United States, they allowed kids my age to play on an organized team. And so I went out and they organized us by weight group. And then they kind of tested us for a day or two and decided you're going to be on the B team and you're going to be on the A team. And I was put on the A team, which was supposedly a little bit more skilled because we were all really at 10 years old. Some of us had it figured out. And turns out that I really wished I'd been on the B team because the B team had a great coach that was positive and encouraging, and they had fun and they won every now and then. And we had this coach that just seemed to hate us. And anytime we made a mistake, made a point of just bashing us down. And it was all negativity and like, why are you guys so dumb? Why can't you, and just like,
Yeah.
and just like, it just became, I just dreaded going to practice. This was something that I had been so excited about. And then it just turned into this thing that I hated. And, there was like his son was the running back and like, I'm just a useless lineman. Like I'm never going to get the ball. I'm never going to there's only so much I can do to help us score, but we were all just super, super demoralized. And we scored a total of 1 touchdown for the whole season. And I still like American football. I love watching it on TV, but I never again played American football on a team unless it was like, Thanksgiving Turkey Bowl or something where it was just like pickup for the day and it was just playing, for fun. But I feel sad that it kind of ruined that for me. And I think that as coaches, as mentors, as parents, as teachers, we just have such an opportunity to really help people blossom. And on the flip side of that, you and I both had a really positive experience when we did our sailing certification in the British Virgin Islands 16 years ago. Our beloved sailing instructor, Matt Holt,
Still living.
still want to get on this podcast, Matt, if you're listening. He was just the best. And from the very moment we got on the boat, we felt safe and just, I kind of want to find another word for safe.
Like he cared about us.
He cared about
Our
us.
experience.
And I remember from the very first moment we were pulling out from the dock and it's this like 50-foot monohull sailboat. And he's like, all right, who wants to drive?
And he believed in us.
He believed in us.
Yeah.
I was so intimidated by this boat and like pulling it out of the dock in this teeny little, like the narrow marina. And he was just like, I'll let you drive. And I was like, holy cow.
I remember you volunteered for everything first. You're like, let's go.
I was up for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that he never made us feel stupid. He just explained it patiently and calmly and gave us chances to practice. And if we didn't get it right, it was never because he just never used negativity to teach us. And that we just came home so amped about continuing on in our sailing journey. And so, I just got back from the BVI about 36 hours ago, wrapped up our last trip for this winter. And one of the guys on this trip, so sweet, he just talked about, we do these little questions at the end of our trip, and I like to hear people's takeaways. And he was saying how much he appreciated me being a patient and calm instructor and how he's been around lots of captains that yell and lose their temper and just get really dialed up, and how I wasn't any of those things. And I took that as the highest compliment because as an instructor, I really just try to be Matt Holt 2.0. I want to create for others the experience that he created for us. And so, and I'm always so pleased to see how much people grow in the course of a week. And everyone comes for their own reasons. Everyone wants to learn their own aspect of it. And some people are just there to be with their spouse who's really into it, and that's fine. But everybody that wanted to learn sailing had a chance and came a long way, according to them, which I think, I can see it, but the fact that they feel that way is really the important thing. So I just think as teachers, mentors, coaches, parents, what have you, grandparents, we have such an opportunity to draw people out.
And I think I would add to that being your own mentor and your own friend and you are the voice in your head, like being that one who's saying like, well, I didn't get it this time. I'm going to try again. Or, like, this is a big project. I'll just take it as one step at a time. And, maybe everything didn't go the way I hoped last time, but this is not the end. I'm going to get up and try again. And even being able to focus on things. But I'm very persistent, or I put in effort, or I know when to take a break, or I'm strong, or I'm patient, or any one of number of these like positive adjectives that you can use to direct at yourself. If you spend even just a few seconds more enjoying those things, that increases the ratio of positive to negative in your brain, increases your opportunities, your chances for succeeding at growth. The more successful you believe you can be, right? The more you're like, oh, actually, I'll stick with it, or I know when to quit, or, but when it's always said like in this positive, self affirming way, then it gives you an opportunity to chase out all of the negativity and the fearful, the what could go wrong kind of thoughts. And it brings in more of like, I don't always make the best choices, but I always learn from my mistakes and do better the next time. Or, it's whatever it is, just that self trust and that self compassion and that little bit of self coaching. Just spending, I mean, I just think it's amazing that even spending a few seconds, even a few seconds at a time, to deliberately experiencing more happy thoughts, you can reconfigure your brain's habitual thought patterns. So whether that's what you're thinking about yourself, or if you're like, wow, what a beautiful cloud. I'm so lucky that I get to, witness this. Any of those things that are like uplifting put you in a position to feel more hopeful and to move more towards growth.
Can I share that meme we were talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
before?
sure.
So I can't find it on my phone at this moment, but the meme said this: "Don't let somebody else ruin your day. Do it yourself." And I
Yes.
think that the opposite is also true. We don't have to wait as much as we all want somebody to help lift us up and be that teacher or instructor that draws us out. The more empowering thing is to be able to do it ourselves. This is the self-coaching that I think you're talking about, is saying, you know, yes, don't let somebody ruin your day, do it for you, but also don't wait for somebody to make your day. You
Mhm.
can do it yourself. I can do it myself. We can do it ourselves. And you're telling us how we can do it ourselves, which is just taking the time to give ourselves a little, to recognize the positive in what is there,
Yeah.
shift our own lens so that we see it, and then articulate it to ourselves and purposefully run those thoughts through our mind so that we're creating the proportion or the quantities of positive to negative that we actually want to have in our brain box.
Yeah, the ones that help us move forward. When we have a preponderance of positive hopes and feelings about our life and ourself, then we're going to be more likely to keep moving forward and keep growing. And I love that. And that is like a great thought. That's really a foundation of why we have this show called What Could Go Right. Do you think that we are accidentally letting in negative thoughts, or do we have to be more intentional about creating positive thoughts? Or, what do you think most adults are doing with that box in their brain?
I'll say this. I think that it's exponentially easier to have negative thoughts, just like it's easier to eat junk food and it's easier to sort of all the things, just to not exercise. It's easier to sleep in. It takes intentionality to have positive thoughts. And just like, it takes intentionality to exercise or to eat healthy or to get good rest or any of the, or sort of there's the baser instincts of us as human beings, and then there's the higher ones. And the higher ones just require some intentionality. And
Mhm.
I think when we do them and we do them long enough or in a way, it doesn't, I know you're a fan of saying it doesn't take long to form a habit, especially if we have a positive experience quickly.
Mhm.
It's easy to say, oh, I like Uber better than taking a taxi.
Yeah.
Immediately you don't take time to form that habit, but you have to have that positive feedback.
Mhm.
And I think as long as we can make the effort to get those first positive hits, then we can keep going. Otherwise, it's really easy to just default to, it's just easier to be negative. That's just how it is. That's why I think the world loves positive people, like genuinely positive people, because they're so rare.
Is it rare? Yeah. And I want to just take a second to talk about the difference between what we now call toxic positivity versus deliberately increasing pleasurable, affirming thoughts. And I think part of it is just saying like toxic positivity is pretending and not acknowledging or stuffing down any of the kind of negative or hard things. Whereas like accepting, like, wow, this is hard is actually really healthy and can help move you towards a positive thought. This is really hard, but if I just take it a little at a time, I'm going to get through. I know there was something that was really hard in my life one time, and I just thought it was hard because I was dumb. And it actually took somebody else to come and say to me, like, it's hard because it's hard, not because there's anything wrong with you, but this is like your plate is really full, and this is a really challenging sort of life choice that you've taken on. So that's why it feels hard. And I was like, I can be smart and life can be hard at the same time. I just thought if I was smart enough, it would be easy. And it was nice to realize, like, oh, well, I'm up for it and I'll just take it a little bit at a time.
I think you're smart.
Thanks. Okay, I want to ask this question. This is how have you experienced your mood shifting when you intentionally savor a positive moment?
Uh,
Have you ever been able to shift gears like that?
yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, I like to start my day with gratitude. I'm a praying guy. And when I pray, I like to express, I like to find a lot of ways, a lot of things to be grateful for. And I just find that that sets me off on a good path for the day. I can be grateful for a hot shower. I can be grateful for a bowl of cereal. I can grateful that my body is functioning well today. Um, that I have clean clothes. There's just so much to, and even, I feel a little shy to say this, but like I come home from a sailing trip and I have a great time on these sailing trips, but I'm also like, I'm in the forepeak cabin, I'm in the crew quarters, and I'm grateful. I come home and I'm grateful for unlimited water. Like
Yeah,
on the boat, you have, or, at home, we have unlimited water. We have unlimited electricity. I have a cabin where I can change my clothes standing up. Whereas on the boat in my cabin, I can't.
you're grateful for other things when you're on the boat, I'm sure.
But yeah, but I miss the warm weather or the breeze or, yeah, it's just but we can find something to be grateful for wherever we are. And I find that when I do that, my day goes better.
Yeah, and it's not a lie. It's a real true thing that you're
Yeah,
actually grateful for, even if there's something else challenging happening in your life at the same time.
for sure.
Okay, so one of the things I loved about this idea, and I think I'll kind of wrap it up here, is that if healing and transformation are more likely in uplifted states, we obviously believe that these sailing trips that we take all over the world provide opportunities for that. Either that you're going to slow down and think about those pleasurable memories, or you're making new memories, or you're with a group of friends and an encouraging captain who are like, you can do this. Look what you just did. You couldn't do that yesterday, and now you are doing it, and great job. And you coiled that rope perfectly, or the sail looks good, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I'm doing things that I haven't done in years, or I'm doing things I didn't know if I would ever do, and I'm like feeling proud of myself. Like, what else can I do? How might we create more of those kind of in our ordinary life and not just when we're on vacation?
Say it again.
Like, how can we create that uplifted state in our everyday life and not just when we're like, "Oh, well, I've left all of the people and the responsibilities and now my life feels easy." Like that is a
I,
beautiful time to like create those and have healing and transformation, which people do experience. But what about when you're at home?
so we can't just go on vacation all the time. Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
that might be your answer.
That's one answer. Let's see if we can come up with more.
Like for me, one of the things I really love is just being outside. And so we've started taking hammocks out and like I'm literally doing something I might do sitting on a couch at home, but I'm outside. And I just feel like so much good momentum and just feel so much gratitude just for being outside and breathing fresh air and being grateful that I in a position in life where I can sit in a hammock for an hour. you know,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
I think that's a good one. I mean, I don't know. I just think like I love going for a walk and moving my body. And I don't mean to be cliche or blasé about this, but when you take a picture and
Mm,
then you go to the filter, you can sort of choose what filter you want to put on that. I think it's just that simple. We can say, this is a moment. I just got off a phone call and it wasn't the news that I wanted, or I just talked with somebody, or I was driving and I was expecting it to not be congested and it was. We can swipe and put whatever filter on that moment we want. And I think if we just think about how we do that sometimes on our phone and just say, I can come at this from whatever angle, what's going to serve me best, what's going to actually help me in my next interaction or my next 5 minutes. And maybe it's time to say, God, that was awful. And I
yeah.
hate that. And I never want that to happen again, and just accept it. And
Mhm.
sometimes we can just say, you know what? I'm actually glad that I got stuck in traffic because, we don't have to make up some fake excuse, but we can say it gave me a little bit more time to collect my thoughts before I arrived home, or whatever it is. We can swipe left and right and put whatever lens on it we want.
I love that. I also think looking at photos of our happy times is another way to like spend a little more time
Yes.
in
Yes.
those moments being like, "Oh, I love looking through my camera feed and the people and the places and the experiences that it like just reminds me, wow, I've had all this good stuff." these good things, these good opportunities, and um, that's really awesome. All right. Well, we hope that you will take a few seconds to savor something positive, just being intentional and deliberate, appreciating yourself, appreciating your something about your circumstance right now or the life that you have lived, and that will lift you and help you feel a little more confident. And like, I mean, these science people are saying you can literally reconfigure your brain to feel good experiences. If you want to feel better, you are in charge of that. And that is pretty empowering. You know, a lot of people like to consider what could go wrong, but we hope until next time you will consider what could go right.
Before we wrap up, I just want to share the sailing update in case you're interested in coming sailing with us. We have a fun plot twist. We are actually looking to open up a last-minute trip to Bora Bora. That's in French Polynesia, down by Tahiti. We'll actually start in an island called Raiatea, which is just next to Tahiti, and then we'll sail one way over to Bora Bora. So we'll be flying home out of Bora Bora. That is going to be May 2nd through the 9th. So if you're interested, we do have to make sure that it's a full boat for that trip to come together. And there's a few people that have already expressed interest. But if you want to go to Bora Bora soon, May 2nd through 9th, down in French Polynesia. Then June, July, August are all sold out with our Mediterranean trips. We do have space on our September Norway trip, September 3rd through the 9th. We have room for up to 4 people, 2 cabins. So if you want to join us in Norway, we're going to be sailing the beautiful Lofoten Islands. I am personally super excited about that. And then our September Italy trip is sold out, but Mexico in October, 5 through 10, we have a spot for 1 solo female traveler, Mexico 5 through 10 in October. And then in the Bahamas, 9 through the 14th, we have room for 1 solo female traveler. Otherwise, those trips are also sold out. In December, 7 through the 12th, we're going back to the Virgin Islands, and we have room for up to 5 people, 2 cabins and 1 solo male traveler. That's December of this year. And we're starting to piece together our 2027. And what we know so far is that in March 1st through the 6th, we're going to be back in the Bahamas. And so we have more cabins and space available if you want to hit us up for the Bahamas next year, March of 2027. And that is the sailing update.
We can talk about trips all day, but it's more fun to hear from someone who's been aboard. Here is a recent guest takeaway.
The other people, just come. Come be a part of this crew because you'll come back a different person. I am a different person, aren't I? You're a lot So that's it.
Sail Team 6 out.
Sail team 6 out.
1, 2, 3.
Yo ho ho!